All right, I wanted to do a little testing on Tungsten Moon 1.1.6. There are a lot of it's a lot of new functionality in this version, and a correspondingly large amount of complicated and mysterious bugs, many of which have been rooted out and repaired, but there are still a few. I think the first one I'm going to look at um, The first one I'm going to look at goes back pretty far. First of all, you notice there are a couple of little help tips on the screen that just disappeared on their own after 2 minutes of operation. Therefore, when you start a game, they link you to the the manual pages over here, like a keyboard map and that sort of thing. So the instruction manuals are going to show up in here for the entire system. Eventually, it's a lot of work to do, but that's going to be there someday. So the first bug that I had reported here was that some Xbox functions work even when you're in the pause menu. So I'm going to verify that one. Jump up a little bit and hit the hover control. Set a descent or ascent rate of 0 meters per second vertical speed. And then I'm going to, on my controller, press the menu button. So now we should be paused. Nothing on my controller should do anything. And I'm going to press the autopilot disconnect. Well, it's the autopilot engage and disengage button. Nothing's happening. Everything's paused. But now when I go back, I can see hover mode is off. So the buttons, at least some of the buttons on the Xbox controller, still do their thing even when the game is paused. And in my brain, I'm picturing the code that's responsible for that, and I understand completely why that happened, and it's been there for a while, and just never thought of trying it. It should be an easy one to fix. The second potential defect that was questioned was whether or not, so all these other things like resume, save, start new, all these things you have to confirm with the proceed or cancel. Proceed means, yes, I want to do that. Cancel means, no, I changed my mind. The only exception is the resume button, which takes you right back. That's always been intended that way, as a very quick way of getting back into the game. There's no need to confirm it because, hey, if you made a mistake, you can just press the menu button again. So I think that's still okay as it is. The next, let me bring my throttle down a little bit so to stop going up. If I can just kind of hover. The next interesting bug was one more report that saving on flight doesn't work, and let me look at that one for a moment. So when you go to save your game, you press the save button. It should light up, and then these should be enabled as well. If this does not light up when you press it, it means that the internal state of the simulation thinks that you are in this a stage of flight where you're not yet fully airborne and you're not yet fully landed. So the idea with a manual save is that it's only supposed to work if you're like up off the ground or if you're on the ground safely. I found that when I tried to save in the middle of landing, when I'm transitioning between in the air and landing on the ground, or between on the ground and in the air, something about saving the state in that particular situation, it tended not to reload quite right. And rather than try to figure out why that was, I just said, hey, you know what? It's easy for me to just have these two flags that say, hey, you're up or you're down, and if it's not either one of those, then you can't save. Now, I'd seen this save failing to light up a version or two ago, and I believe that was because the state of those flags in the menu was not being saved when you paused and unpaused the menu. And so, particularly after reloading a game, those flags wouldn't be in the right state, and it would sort of always think that it was not in the air and it wasn't on the ground, and therefore not safe to save. So I'm hoping that doesn't appear, because I thought I had fixed that. If you go and press the save and it lights up and you say proceed, and you think you saved the game, and when you go to reload that saved game, you find that you're not where you thought you were, or you're not where you thought you saved it, that would be a more interesting question. I often think I'm going to resume a saved game and find that I'm not going back to the game I thought I had. And the reason for this can be that it's automatically saving in some cases, and it's manually saving when you manually save it. And it doesn't tell you when it's automatically saving. So there have been cases where it automatically saves, and I don't realize, oh, that automatic save happened after the manual save. So when I say resume saved, the second option, it should always be going back to the most recent save, whether it was automatic or manual. That's kind of an interesting, unusual way to do save and resume. That is, again, resuming a saved game isn't necessarily going to resume the one that you manually saved. That can be confusing. So if that needs to be rethought, I think it makes sense because it's always the most recent one. And if your most recent save that you resume is in a scary place and you're about to die, then that's why there's this third option, resume saved safe, which only resumes the most recent automatic save, the automatic save should only occur when the ship is in a safe, happy place. So I'll be looking for some more clarification on what the issue is with the save exactly, if that can be reproduced, what exactly is the nature of it. So the last thing that I'm going to look at tonight is a really interesting defect where you're in a hover and you save the game. So you're in a hover here. And the report is that if you're in this hover and you've saved the game, and now you go push your stick forward to change your attitude, no big deal. And then you go into the menu and resume saved. Proceed. Puts you back where you were, flying level. And the report was that it seemed to replay the actions that I took right after I saved. In other words, it replayed automatically that pitch forward, which is if it was recording the things that I did after I saved the game and was replaying them. This isn't doing that now. I'm not 100% sure I understood. This is what I understood the issue was. If that's what the issue was, I can't think of a reason why that would happen. So I have a theory about what could be happening. And to look at that, I'm going to put it into hover mode again. Null out my descent. And I'm going to go into prop control. Which, if you're low enough in altitude, and we're at about 80 meters altitude, and the radar has a good visibility of the ground, it should be able to, it'll null out your horizontal velocity. And what I want to do next is kind of zoom in on this device. So my theory was that maybe some Xbox controllers might have a defect where they're biased, sort of permanently biased one way or the other. And so doing this, putting it in prop control mode and hover, and then looking at these green diamonds on the cross-pointer display, they are a direct indication of what your right-hand joystick is doing. So if I push the stick forward, the green goes up. If I pull it back, it goes down, left, right. And what I expect to see here is that if I say push the stick forward and it goes up, it should return to the exact same spot it started. It shouldn't sort of end up high instead of going back to the origin. So again, looking carefully at where it is now, if I pull it down and then let it go back, does it go back where it was before? It does. Up, down, returns to where it was before. Same on the horizontal, note exactly where it is, left, returns to the same spot, right, return to the same spot. If I push this forward and let it go and it returned to, say, there, that would be bad. That would be a defect in the Xbox controller joystick. And that would actually reproduce the defect that was reported. So if I'd been hovering and then save the game, then push the stick forward to change my attitude and let it relax, and then reloaded the game and saw it immediately start to pitch forward, it would make sense for that to happen if the stick remained in a partially forward position because of some mechanical defect. This one seems to be fine, and I can't reproduce that particular defect. That's cool. So that's my little review of some of the things I've been looking at in Tungsten Moon 1.1.6. If anybody else wants to get in on the fun and play around with a lunar lander with some interesting and realistic physics and genuine software bugs possible, you can grab the this demo from Steam. The demo on Steam is free, and you need to get the very latest version running. You need to select the beta channel. Just in the settings for the game, just this checkbox for doing beta, and you'll get the very latest and greatest. That's it for tonight. I'll probably do hopefully another one of these videos a little more in depth in a day or so.